get started. Another good crowd for web accessibility. Everybody knows they're here for web accessibility, right? Okay, and does everybody know what that means? Some, yes. Okay, great. So today, hopefully, is going to be a workshop. I have a lot of trouble of always talking. It is something that I do by default. So, and I'll get a lot of words in today anyway, but I do want this to be a much more community aspect. As we've gone through this web accessibility stuff for the last year, there's been a number of people across the system who have learned a lot themselves and have become experts in different aspects and areas of this, well beyond any player that we have also in the central team. So want to make sure that there's opportunities for those folks to speak up, talk about how they use the tools, what challenges they run into. And we all have different stakeholders that we have to run into in regards to this as well. Some of you have to deal with faculty, and so that's a whole nother, that's a thing we don't have to worry about so much centrally, frankly. So get started. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to review some auditing tools. These couple of the tools are built right into your browser. Another one is a website that we'll be going through. Understand the warnings and issues from the tools. So as we use these tools, we'll take a look at some of the warnings and errors that go out there and just kind of ask questions and talk about what do these errors mean, so you can get a little bit more comfortable with these auditing tools. And then the third part is, once you know what the errors are, let's fix them. And so we'll talk about some of the basic ones fixed. And the third bullet is just pretty much an extension of things we've talked about in the previous web accessibility workshops that we've done so far this year. You can find guides and tools at web.wsu.edu. We have a list of tools there. Actually, let me just go to it. I'll walk your way through. So if you go to web.wsu.edu, here's the website. There's a thing called Web Accessibility, Accessibility Guides. And you'll see these are all guides about different things with web accessibility, but in there, buried in the top, architectural issue potentially here, is tools. And then here are a list of tools that have been pulled, curated. And this can be a living document. So if anybody has things they want to add or help curate this list, please do contribute this. I'll pull up at the end our web Slack channel, which, by the way, the last time I looked on the general channel had 199 users. So let's see who will be number 200. But anyway, so talk about it there. We'll get this stuff edited as well if you got other tools. All right, now this is where we start with the community aspect and the workshop aspect of this. Is why do we care about web accessibility? This is the standard thing we talk about just about every single month that we do one of these. This time I'm giving no answers. So who would like to jump? Why are you here today?
We're doing a web audit for the WSU Foundation.
Oh, there is a microphone, so yep.
We're doing a web audit for the WSU Foundation website, and we have learned that we have numerous pages that have downloadable PDFs, but we don't have a web page that matches, and also our photos, and we have videos that aren't captioned. And when we're going around and talking to our clients, quote unquote, they have no idea about this. And we've been working on accessibility, I know, at WSU for at least 10 years, because I remember doing this back when we did the grad school website. But it's more of an issue now because weren't we involved in a lawsuit?
Oh, we've been asked to
Okay.
clean our act up a bit. Yes.
So for being a good steward, that's one part. But this is absolutely pivotal for what we're doing as we move forward.
Okay. Why else do we care? Who wants to share why they showed up? Raise your hand if you're an extrovert. Oh. There are 3 of us in this room. Okay, then what we'll do is we'll keep coming back to this like after each piece that we go through here. And if you need to learn other reasons why you will care, there will be some references at the end of this as well to different documents you can find about why web accessibility is important. Is there anybody online that cares? No. All right, so.
I'm a large grant project manager, and the science is really esteemed. And if our website doesn't show the same kind of care and esteem, then, and there's people that are aware of these, then I think we're going to notch down in our public relations efforts. So we want to keep our reputation high, and we also want everybody to know what we're doing. We don't want to limit users.
Yeah, great. So I can also change it. How many in here either have or know somebody who has some sort of visual impairment? How about auditory impairment? How about anxiety? Right, there are all kinds of stuff. These are all things that contribute to having issues with accessibility on the web. And once you add these up, we start getting to a large percentage of our users who have some issue one way or another with web content. So the idea here, web accessibility is just a best practice of usability to make sure that all the people that want to use our sites can. And so we'll get back more to this question as we go again. So here's what we're going to cover today, the Axe plugin for Chrome and Firefox. And I'll go through even how you install that on your browser, so we'll do that next. Then we have Chrome's built-in audit tool using Lighthouse. It's one of the ones I like pretty well, and it's already built in. I tested it, well, I think I tested it correctly to make sure it's nothing. You have to download nothing. I think it automatically is part of Chrome. And then a third one, which is Wave. For those that don't want to get too nitty-gritty into the code, Wave offers a different kind of interface for you to see what kind of errors there are. Does anybody else, for the fun of it, want to throw out some other favorites real quick? Anybody else using something different than these that do audits? Great. All right, Axe, the add-on for Chrome and Firefox. So what we'll do first is I have deleted Axe from my Chrome browser so we can go through the steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Axe Chrome plugin. So first link here is the Axe Chrome web store. This is exactly what I want, so I'm going to add to Chrome, add extension, and you can see up here that it has been added to the browser. All right, so now I have Axe added. So there's a couple ways you can get to Axe, but we're going to go the way my favorite way to do this. So we're going to use Axe here for this. And so we're going to just use this page to see how accessible this page is. So click on the page, and whatever it is, if you're a Windows user or Mac user, and I'm not even sure how Mac users do it, I just double tap. I have my things a certain way. We get the menu to drop down. Once you do that, you'll see Inspect. It's second from the bottom on my particular menu. And just so you know, this is one of the more difficult ways to audit your site for the three that we have. It's a little bit more technically inclined. So if it feels like this is a little bit rough, just know that there's other options that'll be coming. So Inspect, and so what Inspect does is it pulls up a code view down here. And you'll notice in the code view that on the top bar of it, there's the Axe right there. So you click on Axe, and it gives you a nice call to action over here on the left, which says Analyze. And this is where the magic of Axe happens. Or not. I think I've been warned many times, you never do live presentations. There we go. Okay, I think we're in good shape now. So what comes up here? So this page should be fairly good. It is the web team's website. This is also I haven't seen what the errors or warnings are yet, but this is also good to note. Nobody here has been perfect with this. We're all trying to be better. We're trying to do best practice. We're trying to put effort to it. It needs to be part of what we do every day and when it comes to design and code. All right, so the errors that are listed are actually over here in the left. So if you highlight one of these, you'll see the middle part tells you what the error is. And all the way to the right tells you how to fix it. So this is the errors or other issues, the description of it, what is. Now, some of you will read the how to fix it, and you're like, what the heck is that? That's okay. Hopefully, you just know that there's an error, and if it's not something you can understand, that you relay that to somebody who can understand that. So the first one, if we're to take a look at this, so this is, well, let me just talk about one other thing with this Axe. You can see these two things here, inspect node and highlight. So for a lot of people, highlight will work. Highlight will go to the place in the page and highlight where the issue is. You'll notice that this first issue doesn't highlight actually anywhere, because this, we'll get into why. But if I were to go to this one right here, so you see where the heading levels should only increase by 1, you'll see that that is highlighted. And we'll get to that issue in a second. So this first issue, it tells me where it's located at in the code, and I can also see it in the code if I went to inspect node right there, and it highlights exactly where it is in the code. For most of you, that's not something you might want to do. And then here's the input. So what's happening at this particular one is, this is our MailChimp subscribe. MailChimp puts a hidden form or into their code that prevents bots from being able to get through. It's kind of like a little tricky, I don't know if what their correct term was. Folks in the back corner might have a better answer for that. But anyway, it is not something that's actually causing an accessibility issue for us here because it is missed. The second one is more important. Oh, this is a really good one. Yep. Oh, for the first, they can't see it. Yep. So the error for the first one is form elements must have labels. This is a hidden form element. It doesn't have a label. And that comes from our MailChimp plugin for handling our newsletter there. The second one is heading levels should only increase by 1. And this is great that we have this error. So one of the things we've been preaching is headings are not decorative. Headings need to go chronological. You have an H1, the next one's an H2. And the next one after that can be one of 2 choices, really. Maybe either another H2 or an H3. So in this case, we have an H1 and an H3. It's letting me know that this is wrong. We need the H2. And so if you take a look at the description here, heading level shows only increase by 1. This shows me that's it's an H3 and shows me which H3 it is. And this says heading order invalid. So this is not very informative, but put all these together, we know that that probably shouldn't be an H3 and it needs to be an H2. And we should also make a note that we need to fix that. This area is this brings me up to another thing. You can take a look at impact here. It gives you the level of impact it thinks it is, if it's a moderate issue, or if it's a urgent issue, or if it's a you should check it out issue. Are also there in the middle pane in the top right. This particular one is content should be contained in a landmark region. I don't know what content we don't have within our HTML or other landmarks. I'll have to look at that. This one's much more technical than what probably should be in this class. And the final one is element, and this is one you're going to have a lot of. Elements must have sufficient color contrast. We have 25 of these called out on this particular page. So we're currently highlighting. And you'll see once you're in the top right here, if you take a look at the top right on the pane, I can start scrolling through each of these. So it'll start telling me where things are at. Most color issues are all contrast issues, and they'll tell you what the contrast issue is. So let me find one on this page that it's highlighting. It's having trouble highlighting right now. Oh. That's why I can't see it. It's in our navigation. So if you use WSU spine, you'll find the way that some of the colors are handled in the spine here will give you a warning for color. So if you have a color contrast issue and it's in the spine, don't worry about that, unless you're using a spine color that you've overwritten that we don't supply. We had that handled. But if you have any color contrast issues in your content areas, definitely worry about those. And I don't have any on this particular page. Yes. Well, I can repeat the question too.
Okay. I'm wondering if you have guidelines, because when we go back to fixing these problems, because I know that we probably have these, do you have a set of standards that we can follow, that we can work with our designer on, that
Yeah,
help out?
we do. We have a few different places. So for instance, color and contrast. So if I'm on the same site here, so we have our web accessibility. These are all the different issues we have. And also you'll see some of the checkers. Once we get the wave, you'll see something else. Color and contrast, this goes down and tells you about what you need to do. And it really comes right up the top here. Normal size text is 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio. There are a lot of great tools, which we also list on the tools page here, at the very top, color tools here. These are all contrast color checkers. So you can put a couple of colors into them. So I can put my foreground color in, my background color, and it gives me the contrast ratio. And what's really nice is it also tells me right off the bat, do I pass? I don't remember if it's WebAIM that rounds correctly. Jeremy, do you remember? It is WebAIM that rounds correctly. So there is some contrast checkers that will do 4.49999. We'll round that up to 4.5. That is not accessible, even though that thing will say it is. Little nuance. Odds of being any kind of a real issue, very low, but just know we have run into that issue. WebAIM, I'm getting nods from others, rounds correctly. So if it was a 4.44 or 49999, it would still say it failed. WCAG AAA is not, we're the AA standard at the WSU. And large text has to be 3 to 1 contrast ratio. I don't remember the exact number for what large text is. I think it's, I might say, large text is defined as, so more than 18 pixels, so 19 pixels. It's 18.66 pixels is considered large text. And that contrast ratio needs to be less. But anyway, just a little digression there. So you can find your color contrast tools and stuff here. If anybody else has any other tools they love using, please again submit those. We'll get these added to the list. Oops. Does anybody have a site they want to have AXF applied to real quickly? Just one page. Foundation. Do you want to come up here and run this? Yeah, great. And I double, yeah, so. Oh, that's pretty quick. All right, so there are 9 that we have to take a look at with elements must have sufficient color contrast. So the first one is in the mail. So click on highlight. Yep. Oh, I think there's a problem with that one. That looks like it's crimson on dark gray. So I think that's a good call. And you'll see, so this is a good one. Stick here a second. So what this will also do, if you take a look at the how do you solve this issue, it says that it's a 1.47 contrast ratio, which is significantly less than the 4.5 that's necessary. Yeah, that one's easy to fix. Now let's, if you handle the styling of your own site, how many people here have control to handle the styling of your site? Okay, if for you that get this error, this is something obviously you can fix through CSS. How many people here who don't have access to their CSS know who to talk to about working on their CSS? Few. Okay, good, do it. How many here have no access to anybody that knows how to work on their site? Great, we should talk. Okay, and we'll need to find who your site owner is. Yep, okay, fantastic. So that's one issue. Let's move to the next. Oh, you missed a cover. All right, ooh, this is a good one. Where's this one at? Okay, so this is a good example. So this is given in here. What's it? Sorry. So this one is found. It's a little bit odd, but it's in this area here. It's actually for this particular item, the Destined for School of Design. The reason this is throwing up an error because it's text over an image. The browser, or in this particular situation, the axe, can't determine if there is enough contrast ratio there. So that has to be you doing a really good eyeball check, or maybe even sampling colors from it and using one of those color checkers that we had pointed out earlier. Yeah, that's good fun. Go to your next one on the left. So we're not the only ones that have header issues. No, and all the way to your right, sorry. Yeah, good. So this one here says it's an H3. Scroll up, which is probably down 2 fingers. So here's another one of those issues where we start off with an H1 and we skip to an H3. There is no H2 here. So, and these here probably shouldn't be H elements at all. They're just, it looks like another navigation that's on the site, which I'm pretty sure you guys are looking at how to make this home site work a little bit better for you. So this should be not an issue longer term. But yeah, again, H element issues there. You'll find that people that contribute to your websites love using H elements because they can be bold, they have a certain color to them, they have a little extra, whatever the fanciness that's been added to them. If you ever see yourself wanting to use an H element because of how it looks, stop, get up from your chair, and ask for help. Okay, great. Any questions here on Axe? Who uses Axe? Great. Who loves Axe? Ooh, we got a few. Great, I do pretty well. Yeah. So the question is, can you set Axe to show AA or AAA standard? I believe Axe, that's a great question. I don't know about the, so right now by default it shows AA standard. But I don't know.
Yeah, because I think AAA has a higher standard for color contrast. So
It's significantly higher.
So yeah, if it's set to AAA, then it's going to say that you're failing in a bunch of places where you
I
might
think
not be.
AAA might be 9 to 1 contrast ratio or 7. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. But it's somewhere there. Does anybody want to Google real quick how on Axe if there's a way to change the default or to show both while we're doing that? Okay, we'll find out. Anybody else have any comments about Axe or why they like Axe? For me, I like to play more in the code. Axe works pretty well for me because it allows me to use kind of the inspect node really easily, gets me into the code where I want to be to show me exactly where the issue is at. All right. Any questions about Axe? How many people are that didn't know about Axe are likely to use it now? Woo, 3. Perfect. Anybody online with any reason why they want to use Axe or why they love Axe? You good?
Jessica online says she uses it and she finds it very helpful and would recommend it.
Yeah. I think it's good. And also what's nice about playing and inspect, I don't know how many of you are interested in how web is built, but when you do inspect and you start getting a little bit in that code, it's really, I'm not saying everybody should do that or know how to do it or anything like that, but some familiarity there really starts helping to make you a better web content creator. And that way when you know, you can tell your developer, whoever you got in your team, these elements are out of whack, and you can actually say it in enough of a way where they can say, oh, I gotcha. Probably out of a whack, that's not going to work so well, but anyway. All right, item number 2. So we're going from Axe to audit tools in Chrome. So I'm going to stick in my Chrome browser here. Anybody got a site, page they want me to go to? Who has a web page that somebody they absolutely don't like did? Or who did a site themselves and wants a really great learning opportunity here? What's the first ones? How did you get that one? All right, learning innovations. We're in a lighthouse this one. All right, so I'm going to use Chrome Developer Tools So this starts the same way as Axe did. Chrome Developer Tools, the audits are already a part of Chrome. So get your little menu, come down, click Inspect. The difference here is you'll see where Axe was placed right here. Before this audits is there by default. Click on audits. Now you'll find once we perform an audit that you have multiple options here. When I was working on a project, just trying to figure out the speed and how it loads and everything like that, the performance audit was also of interest. But here you can deselect everything except for accessibility. I've actually never clicked on the SEO one, but this might be interesting. So some people think SEO stuff is mostly snake oil. I tend to go that direction most of the time, because if you're just doing best content, best stuff, you should get the people that you need to get. However, of note, Chrome is made by, does anybody know what large conglomerate makes Chrome? Google. Does anybody know what large conglomerate has like 95% of the search, of the United States? Google. Two interesting things. I don't know how well their company talks to each other. But I would say if Google's own product is talking about SEO for a product that they really do pretty well, that might be of interest someday to click on and see what that audit's all about. Anyway, slight digression. So once I select accessibility, we click on the nice button that says Run Audit. It's going to go through it, takes a look at it, and it's a little nice mobile thing here. This one takes more time. It makes you think like it's doing more, but I'm not sure it is. All right, you got an 87%. So this is a fun little, you still got work to do, however. So what's fun about this particular one is it gives you a nice little score, and Sheila's site here got a nice green circle, so they're like, you know what, you're doing pretty well. So we'll take a look at the left over here. Elements describe contents well. There's an issue with a frame or an iframe that we have in the site. It's the YouTube player. Great. So, yeah. So right now, YouTube is not fully accessible in the WCWP, our WordPress installation. I don't know how, and it might not be, and I don't know if Umbraco, it's in good shape, or anybody else's CMSs. But it goes in an iframe. We don't have a lot of control over the title aspect. We have no ability in the video itself to get it transcribed. We can get a closed caption through Google on that, but that's a whole nother workshop. So what's happening is calling out your iframe as being an issue. We know that that's an ongoing issue, which you, I think, have voiced actually in the past as well. So Sheila has done her part for this particular issue, as recognized. Color contrast is satisfactory. That's always a nice thing to read. There are 14 audits passed. It shows you all the audits that passed. And then it tells you audits that didn't matter. You actually did really good, Sheila. And then we get to what my favorite part is. It gives you the list of items to manually check. So this is a good time to bring up. These checkers that we're looking at only do some of the work. They'll take a look at, make sure you have alt text on your images, color contrast. They'll make sure that you have headings not out of order, a lot of pieces like that. But they can't check how your tabbing is. So can somebody tab through your site, through all the links are on your page? Does somebody get into a loop when they get into a certain region in tabbing that they can't get out of? These are all things that require manual checks. Or like we talked about earlier, the image, they had the text on the front of it. Those kind of things need to be manually checked. Yes, Wendy?
Audit itself, does it actually check for captions, or do you
I don't
have to
think
do that
Lighthouse
manually?
does. Not through the iframe. My guess was if that was an HTML5, I don't know, does anybody know if Lighthouse or Axe, if you use an HTML5 video, will flag that it has captions or a transcript? I feel like I've seen that error before, but I'm not sure where or what tool. And if anybody online knows that too, if you can post as well, that'd be great. So anyway, we're not going to go through these today, but these are just good to know that there are parts of checking to make sure your site works that these checkers can't do. But if you at least get through what these checkers are doing, you're a long ways ahead than where you have been. And a lot of these can be handled through central CMSs that you work on. Should be the developers and the system owners should be able to handle most of those, including ARIA, meta tags, the tabbing we talked about earlier. So that's mostly similar to what's going on here. So now you'll see when you click on this, this tool doesn't give you the same stuff it acts does. It just takes me to the code, and it gave me an explanation with the errors. Does anybody else use the audit for Chrome? No. Okay. Anyway, I like it. It reminds me to make sure I do my manual checks. Allows me to give a checklist through. I think it feels to me, it's a little bit more thorough than Axe, though I have no reason to know that for sure. Yes, Wendy. They use Lighthouse. So Google's audit tool. Yep. All right. And then the last one we have that we're going to take a look at is Wave. And this gives you more of a visual display of issues. Now, none of these are going to be the ideal situation you're looking for as far as if you want to see no code. But this goes a long way. So Wave. So at wave.webaim.org. All right. That's what mine looks like too. All right, let's reload that. There we go. Okay, so this page, pretty simple. It just wants you to put a website address in there. I think we can do that. Does anybody have a site they want to throw out? Great. Payroll? Okay. It's going to be fun, isn't it? That's payroll.wcu.edu. All right. So WebAIM is going to do its magic on this. There is something really funny going on in my browser right now. All right. So you'll see this gives you your web page, but it's really marked up. What's kind of nice is you can hover on any of these things and it kind of tells you what it's doing. So if I'm here, I click on it, a nav element or navigation landmark is present. This is great. This is giving you a green little button. It's like you did a good job here. And then over on the left, we got a lot of stuff, but actually not too many bad things. So we have two errors. So on this page, we got to find our errors here. So one is we're missing a label. That's within the spine, I'm pretty confident. And we have an empty link. Boy. Anybody know how to use Wave better than me? Lisa, do you want to come up here real quick? Okay.
Fine, so they can only fix the content. So I look here before I look here, and when you hover over these things, it will give you good clues as to what's going on. So even though this H4 isn't throwing a red error, it's still an error. It's a usability error as well as an accessibility error. And then the other thing that I find very helpful is that it pops a little icon as to what document you have there, so you can let the user know within the link what they're going to be doing. If they're on a mobile phone, they don't want to download a 500-page PDF.
Even if they're on a desktop, they don't want to download a 500-page PDF.
And then when you click, I can't send that, I hate 'em.
Oh, let me click on something for you.
It gives you clues as to what needs to be happening. So it tells you to add that it's a PDF there. And click on the H4.
Up here? Yeah.
Yeah. So you've skipped a heading level, and this stuff won't get picked up by
So X and Lighthouse both pick it up.
Lighthouse. I didn't pick it up on mine. I did
Oh,
a
it
test
didn't?
page.
Oh,
No,
it's
I
interesting.
got 100% on Lighthouse.
So X for sure picks that up.
Yeah. And so if you can only deal with this and you're not quite sure about accessibility, you can only deal with the content, you're not quite sure about accessibility, I use Wave because it gives you the instructions. If you click on more information, can you click on more information?
Oh, yeah.
It pops it up over here on the left as to suggestions of what you need to do to fix it. And then it gives you more information as well, so you can learn more. So.
Thank you very much.
I was just going to say that Lighthouse doesn't check heading levels. It's one of the manual review steps that it has at the bottom.
Great. Thank you for that. And actually, I think Axe, that may be also only something in the last like 6 months that Axe has added. So you can see that there's certain colors that make a difference here, correct? So if you,
Sorry, I don't go by strictly the errors that I see. I'll look at the rest because you'll get even green that is actually an error. If you have an image that has no alt text, it doesn't throw an error. It just says you have an empty alt text, and that can be an error for the content on your site. And it will show you a warning sign if your alt text is over 100 characters. With JAWS cutting you off at 125, it gives you a warning. And it will tell you if an image has no alt text, but that image is a link, it will tell you that there is a link there with no text, because the alt text for the image is used as the link text. So it's still a manual check, but at least it gives you warnings.
Yeah.
And you don't need to look at the errors and fix only the errors. You need to look at the rest of the content.
and I think the warnings are a good point. For instance, alt text in an image, not having alt text is not necessarily an error. It is only an error if that image needs alt text, which we've talked about in previous sessions, and we can get into again. But if the image is truly only decorational and provides absolutely no content to the page, it does not need to have alt text. I would say that's a very small amount of the time, especially for the content that you're able to put into your own pages. Alt text is a good thing. You can see that I don't use Wave. I appreciate, Lisa, you stepping up. Anybody else here use Wave? Great. Anybody else find anything that they love about it? So Ryan likes that it surfaces alt text right into the page. Yeah, Lisa.
It will also tell you it will tell you where you put the alt text. I found many pages where the image was inserted in the middle of a word. And so the screen reader would come through and read the sentence, figure out how to pronounce that first part of the word and say graphic image, read the alt text, and then continue on. So it tells you when you've placed an image in the middle of a word.
Nice. Which, just a little note for people, when you're on certain CMSs and you have your editor and it says insert an image, my recommendation is to insert the image in between paragraphs or anything else. Try not to do it within a sentence or even between sentences. Best to do it between paragraphs. And great, so now we have a way to at least earth that forward as well. Great. Anybody else want to comment on Wave? How many people are here apt to use Wave? Great. How many people here have found nothing that's going to help them and they're really just forever lost? When it comes to this stuff, feeling lost for a long time is going to happen. I mean, I think we all go up and down to how we feel lost with this stuff. The key is that you showed up, you're here, you want to make things better, whether it's for a business purpose or, more importantly, because you really care about all the other humans in this world and you want to make sure that they can consume all the great content that you work so hard to produce here at Washington State University. But anybody else want to throw out another tool that I should preview here that I have not thrown out? I won't make you drive it. I'll try to learn it right when we're here, if that helps. No? Okay, great. Others? Done that? All right, this brings us to this fun item. Has everybody taken their mandatory web training at Washington State University? If you have not, go there. We have just had a meeting with IT this morning about getting flags set. We don't know the exact path, but Ryan, you'll know exactly what will happen once we get there. We'll give some notice, but we will start shutting off ability to edit web pages if you have not taken this training. It was mandatory as of last August, September. We've had this training available since a little bit in February and again in mostly like May. So we're within the calendar year of when we're supposed to. But please jump on it. And this training you'll have to take every year. So once you've passed it, we'll know your date. Your date will get saved, and then it's just something that you'll have to continue to do. This training will help you understand web accessibility a little bit better. It'll probably take you, my guess is if you watched everything and you didn't know what was going on and you were watching everything, it's probably an hour. Is that fair? That's correct. Great. And so take an hour of your time to go through this. What's great is if you're at a point in your day and there's like a lot of work you don't want to do, and this might not be something you want to do, but at least you get to watch some videos. They're going to be almost interesting. I think very interesting, actually. We did a great job of curating the videos we have in this training. Right, Wendy? Great. So anyway, please do that. Yeah, because it's designed for everybody that contributes to the web at the university, so it's going to be a little bit more generalist. Yes, Todd?
Yeah, I was going to ask what level of users need to take that? Like editors?
All levels.
All levels.
All levels users take it. All levels users should be able to pass it. We're talking about how we handle more technical things with different folks at the university to have maybe even small workshops like this for people that are highly technical to start taking care of some more of the audit pieces as well. But that won't be a mandatory training. So the earlier I mentioned is who will be number 200 on our general channel on our Slack. I don't know if we've gotten there yet or not. This is pretty cool. And I'm going to talk about, so I have a brown bag lunch talk on Wednesday for our internal university communications / marketing communications team, talking about community and building community and that kind of stuff. And one of my favorite parts about this is, I don't remember what the topic was, but it was a few weeks ago. Somebody posted a question. And there's a number of people in the community here that bantered and talked about it and came to a solution. Not a single person in the central web team talked. Not saying that we shouldn't or not like that, but, and not even saying that we have to. But there's now a community around the web at the university where if you have any questions or any concerns or anything, post it here. There's somebody that's had the same issue you had, maybe the day before, 2 weeks before, or maybe years before. But somebody's been where you are or is looking for that kind of thing. Or maybe it's a brand new thing and we all just need to kind of think about it together. We'll also post on this. We have one of the channels on this one is accessibility focused as well. We'll also, if we're working on things centrally, one of the more recent ones is the events calendar that rolled out recently. We vetted topics, like types taxonomy through this. And what was great, we got great feedback from community members on that really changed a few of the terms and some of the things that we did with that. So powerful thing. I think this is awesome. If you're not on this, get on it. What's great about Slack is it's there when you want it. You know, it doesn't get in your way too much. Yeah. 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 Great. Thank you, Jonathan. That's perfectly put. So more references. I know this is a really long URL. You don't have to write it down if you don't want. That URL is also posted in here if you want it. But what this is this is a Home Office Digital for the UK, for the for United Kingdom.gov. Put together a number of cards. Jeremy and I came across them. They had a desk at WordCamp Europe last week, or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. Really well done cards, talking about all the different types. Let me just pull it up for you. Oh, that works like shit. All right, I'm going to go to Slack right now, actually. so you can see what this is all about. All right, while it's loading. So anyways, they put together these cards that shows you kind of the do's and don'ts of the and what different people with different disabilities, how they react to the content. So let me go here. This is the WCU Web Slack. Is it in the web Did you post those? Did these get posted in here? There we go. Yep. So this is on a GitHub. So GitHub is a place where a lot of developers work on their code together. But anyway, this is what this is. So you'll see the first card here is designing for users on the autistic spectrum. Use simple colors. Don't use bright and contrasting colors. Obviously, you need to use contrasting enough to meet requirements. But these cards are great, and I think would be helpful for absolutely everybody. And maybe what I'll try to do is, it might be worth working with Cooper to see if I can't get some of these printed and we can have available and handed out. And it's designing for users of screen readers, do's and don'ts. Designing with users with low vision, dyslexia, physical or motor disabilities, deaf or hard of hearing, anxiety. These are all things that we have to be conscious of as we create web content for everybody. So anyway, so we'll try to get some of these available. But the links are in the Slack. Go ahead and take a look at these. I think these are important. I was looking to do something the other day, and then Jeremy pulled this up, and he says, that lists under the don't. And so it's a nice thing to have, and especially if you're looking for any support, because if you're somebody that does web work and there's somebody in your department who wants you to do something specific, it's nice to have a little backing. We'll always back you. If you run into somebody's pushing you to do something that's not accessible in your job, you can even discreetly notify anybody of the web team, anywhere. We will help you. We have your back on any of that, because our first priority is make sure everything's accessible. This is not a authoritarian hierarchy issue. This is if Dan Bernardo tells me to do something that's not accessible, Dan Bernardo does not get it. And so this is just something to be conscious of. I don't know why, Todd, I used your boss, but sorry, Dan. Kirk, if Kirk wants it, I'll use that example. That's a better one. Anyway, but download these cards. I think there's a lot of cool stuff in here, and it'll help you continue to orient yourself. Too often, we always think of web accessibility as for people that are blind. That is a pretty small percentage of our web users that actually have issues consuming content. Visual impairment as a whole is a large group with people that have either red, green, other kind of impairments there, people that are aged or eyes have cataracts, you name it, all across the board, number of issues there. So anyway, there's that. And that's what I have right now. So we didn't workshop this very well, because once I start talking, I don't stop. But Lisa did a great job stepping up. Thank you. Any questions on any of this, or any questions on web accessibility stuff in general? Yeah. And we got 10 minutes.
Did that Lighthouse, does it look at an entire website when it does its audit? Are there
No,
any tools
each of these browser tools look at the individual page.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more site-wide, we have a web crawler, which is web crawlers using Alley? Yep. dashboard.wcu.edu/accessibility. So we've been crawling the university, unless you're the libraries, where we're like, you guys have so many pages and so many errors, we don't even worry about you. Go here. So if we're looking for a site, let me just, Paul Bryan's site, okay? Here we go. So now it starts showing you the errors and the breakdown of the errors that you have on that particular site. Yes, Lisa? Right.
It's a helpful starting point. Please check your pages manually.
Yes.
It's not going to catch that your alt tag is image_123. or that you have a table in there that is styled as, is designed as a layout, and it's really a data table.
Yeah.
So you still need to check it, but at least gives you a starting point.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, none of these tools are your.
Yeah, it's not a good way to review all these kind of 20 or 30 different sites. And so
Yeah.
identifying the big problems first is kind of where we want to start.
So this might be a good place to start, the accessibility dashboard. Yeah, the URL is dashboard.wcu.edu/accessibility. I think it's probably been in the Slack channel, but all the more reason to come to Slack. I'm going to put it in the general channel of our Slack for anybody that wants it. But site auditing is an interesting thing. It's tough. A lot of times you'll spot audit. You'll go to pages that you know have certain kind of media, tables, different things like that. You'll select a assortment of those pages and review to see if the best practices have been happening for that particular site. But to manually audit every page will take a lot of time. And something eventually, as you change content on a page, it's good to take a look at what's going on. And then again, hopefully the dashboard will at least help point out some of the general issues on the pages. Yep. Okay, we got a few more minutes. Any web-related questions at all? Or let me pose the question we started with. Why do we care?
Or 20% or however many, whatever percentage of our audience has some issue with the website. I don't want to leave them out. If I have something to sell, I want everybody to be able to see.
Yeah, the 80% rule doesn't apply here.
I have a question online. Jonathan says, citing with accessibility, how do you answer those who favor designing for the majority or those who design for their able-bodied audiences more heavily?
Yeah. So those are issues we run into, and it goes back to the why we care, and it goes a little bit to what Sheila was talking about. And I think there's always we're mandated to do it piece, but hopefully we do it because we want people to have a good web experience. Why are we having a web page that actually isn't working for everybody? What is it, whether it's in fundraising? How do we know that person with disability doesn't want to give us $3 million? That'd be a stupid mistake. Or future students who may have anxiety or have some dyslexia, they still pay tuition. I mean, these are all people we care about and we should care about because we want them to be a part of what we're doing here. And also as a public land grant institution, public land grant is about access, not just like accessibility for web, but it's about access. It's about making sure the research we do here gets in the hands of the people that can use it here in our state and at the counties and each of the communities. Making sure that we have access to anybody that wants to have an education and has gotten to a certain level can come here and get that education. Especially recently with a lot of the first gen aspects around that and other populations that are not, the efforts to make sure everybody can get the WSU that wants to, I think is a great thing. So making your website reflect those same things, I think it's who we are. I mean, if that's not a part of what makes you want to work at a land grant institution, I mean, there could be, sometimes we all have jobs because we want to have a job. I get that, that's perfectly fine. I come to this job because I get paid. But this job is also great because you get to work for a place that is trying to do as much as it can for a population that's here. And I don't think we should stop short because some designer wants to use small, light gray text. And I just be passionate about it. Just show your passion. Show why you care to the people that you're trying to talk to. And speaking to Jonathan there and anybody else that runs into us, because we do too. But you get to turn to, this is a best practice. If you can't get to them intrinsically to make them motivated to want to make it for everybody else, then you can just show them the EP7, BPPM 85.55. I might have that one slightly off. Okay, that one's correct. We're mandated to do it. We have to meet these requirements at Washington State University. Both the federal and state governments say we do. And hopefully it doesn't have that. Hopefully that's not the reason why we do it. But sometimes it needs to be. Good question. I hope I answered that okay. Okay. Any other questions? How many people love working on the web? You know what's great about working on the web is there's always the next big thing you have to make sure you're conscious of. And as soon as you get conscious of it, your job triples in size. Nobody ever understands it. Your bosses don't understand it. Nobody else here. So you triple your work. You get paid the same. But you get to contribute to this fun community, this kind of group where we do care about the web here at the university. And we have, and speaking of that community in open web, I guess, so we have open labs. So web open labs are every Friday from 9:30 to 11:30 in ITB 2025. I know remote people, we're sorry, we still have not figured that out. Someday, maybe. We'll get that figured out for you. But the people that are located in Pullman, come on down, show up. Bring donuts if you want. But it's a good time. We do talk a fair amount about WordPress, but we talk about web as a whole. You'll hear people talk about why sliders are a terrible idea and should never be used, or why the crimson navigation bar is the wrong color and should never be used. We'll also talk about this kind of stuff, or privacy, the GDPR, the stuff dealing with that Europe has rolled out as far as privacy and how we're handling that. We talk about those things there as well. So come join us, have a good time. It's 2 hours. You can also come for 5 minutes if you want. But if you want to spend the whole 2 hours, that's fantastic. You're still at work. And you're just sitting and hanging and chatting and learning. It's a good time.
Stephen, is there another way that people from the distance can reach you or reach the web communication?
I think the Slack channel is a fantastic route. And if the Slack channel is not the best route, then we have, if you go to web.wsu.edu, we also have a contact form. Usability here a little bit. So you get to the contact. If you're somebody like me, it doesn't read anything. I scroll down and I'm like, ooh, form field. I'm going to fill this out. Not so fast. Reverse back up. Oops. You'll see if you are a WSU and if you have one, click here. And this takes it to our ticketing system on Jira, to where if you have anything you want to talk about, and it doesn't even have to be general help. If you want to give us a general comment, go ahead. General help there is fine, but there's a place here to communicate with us. If you send an email to slacker@wsu.edu, you have about a 3% chance of it probably getting read within 48 hours. Sorry to say, I'm just being really honest. Slack has a little quicker move, and then if it goes through this thing, we have a fantastic, fantastic member of our team, Caleb, who's sitting over here with a hat on. Caleb is all over that form. And he'll say, Steve, you really need to read this. Then it gets a little bit quicker, or Jeremy or Phil or whomever it is. Or most of the time, Caleb can handle it himself. Very capable. So anyway, that's a way to contact us. All right, for the next one, what do we want to do? What do people want to learn about when it comes to web accessibility? Or do we need to have a, yes?
So I actually have a question about video, because we have tons of them.
Yeah.
And some of them are down at the Brailsford Center, where they had wine tasting. And we're going to have to caption those videos. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if there's a tool or if there's a way we can talk about that, because it seems to me that would be an enormous amount of work for people.
Yeah, so quickly, I can give you 2 quick things.
Okay.
The first thing is YouTube actually will give a decent first go across it. It'll get the words synced up and give you an initial closed caption. You will need to go in and edit because it's not so great, but it gets you a long ways there. Second is, I know that Ken Arco, who's the manager of the central video team, they have somebody they outsource with that can say, yes, Wendy.
We can also help you too. We have a source that we outsource to.
So AOI also has outsource abilities. Fantastic. Yeah, so there's some places. So there's a free way to go, but it's going to take you a little more work, or you can pay through a third party and get those things done. As far as then putting your videos in, we need to work a little bit better as a central web team to really find ways to make video more accessible. we've started using, well, I think in at least a couple cases, embedding Vimeo using straight HTML5 tags, which allows us to do low. We've not necessarily put that into great practice, but we know that we have some more exploration we need to do there to help you all out.
I have another question online.
Yeah.
Samuel would like to know, is it possible to have a blog on Cougar Pages as an instructor where your students can co-create content and have something that looks like an e-portfolio? And can students have their own blog too?
I think all yeses to that. So students, so crimsonpages.com, or is it .com? .org. So if you go to crimsonpages.org, is there a contact there? All right, so go to that contact, that web.wcu.edu contact, and you're requesting a new website. Tell us who's there, and we'll get that set up. So if there's students that need to get set up for their own web pages, they go there, request them, we'll get them to the right site. And if there's a site that more people can collaborate on, I mean, we just add them as users. Yep, and whoever the site owner is will be able to add all the users they want. Potentially, depending on what they're trying to do. Projects.wcu.edu is a good, boy, I haven't been on projects in a long time. So projects, what would be the definition of projects.wcu.edu? What do you call that kind of communication? Is it project or projects? Singular project.wcu.edu. And so this is a place where you can create a project that people can have like a Slack-ish, but not quite that kind of experience way of working on a project. Good way to document the work you're doing or you're collaborating on together, if you chose. But just sign up for one, play with it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I have a few of those from about 4 years ago. All right, so video, which we'll maybe talk with Ken and get him here maybe for one of these. All right, so video is a potential topic. Any other potential topics? Any topics about the web in general? Third-party vendors. You want to present on that one? All right, third-party vendors, okay. How to handle that stuff. How many people know, if they have a third party on their website? 1, 2, 3. How many people are just not sure? Okay. Good to check. And there are a lot of different third party things that could be definition 30. You know what? Third parties, plugins, things like that, that might actually be a good topic of conversation. Okay. Thanks, Sheila. Anything else? All right, I guess we are just 4 minutes over. Thanks for coming out. This was great. Appreciate it. We'll continue to work on me on how a workshop should work instead of me talking. But hopefully you guys will keep coming, feeling comfortable, and we can get this to be more discussion-based as well. And then join us on Fridays. Friday is my favorite day of work here, and it's not because it leads the weekend. It's because we have open labs in the morning. We go to a nice lunch. If you want to come grab a beer with us down at OPO for lunch, we have a good time every Friday doing that. So it's a good thing.